Welcome everybody to the Word on Woodward presented by PointsBet, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Tigers, and Little Caesars Arena. I'm your host, Daniella Bruce, alongside my co-host, Art Regner, and today's guest is none other than former Red Wing and current Director of Amateur Scouting, Kris Draper. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Kris.
Thanks, Daniella. Appreciate it. Thank you, Art, for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And I don't know if you know this, but you should probably mark this down on list of accomplishments in your career. The first time the Word on Woodward ever aired, which was right at the beginning of the pandemic shutdown and everything, you were one of our first guests. And now that we've revamped the Word on Woodward a little bit, you're our first guest again.
Wow.
So we're just always going back to Kris Draper.
Going back to the well, right?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I appreciate that. Obviously enjoy being here and enjoy our conversations about hockey and looking forward to talking about the prospects that we just brought into the Detroit Red Wing organization.
Yeah, let's get right to it. The Red Wings brought in 8 new prospects in the 2021 draft. So now that you've had just a little bit of time to cool off and kind of look at what you were able to acquire in the 2021 draft, what do you think of the pool that you have eyes on?
You know what, I think as a scouting staff, I think we're excited. I think when you sit back and going into the draft, when you look at defense, you want to try to grab a defenseman when you have an opportunity to do that. We were at pick 6. Obviously, we had to see how the first 5 picks went, and Simon Edvinsson was there for us. Big 6'4.5", smooth skating, great skating, left shot defenseman. We were able to watch. I actually saw him as an underage last year when I was over in Sweden a couple times, and then with not being able to travel this year, I had to rely on a lot of video. Håkan Andersson and Thomas Carlson were able to see him play live, which was great for us. And then obviously at the U18s in Texas, we were able to watch them. And, the one thing, there was one rink, it was a small rink. And the one thing that, we were almost on top of the players, and you could really just see what a great skater he was, for 6'4.5", the way he moves, his edge work, was obviously really impressive for us. So when we're sitting there at pick 6, that obviously made sense for us right away.
Kris, when I look down the breakdown of the 8 players, 2 left-handed D you drafted, 3 centers, although 2 were listed as center left wing, 1 right wing, 1 right-handed defenseman, and 1 goaltender. I mean, I know you don't have a magic number, but when you see the breakdown that way, do you think, wow, we really did address not only the best player available, but got needs that this organization needed?
I think so. I think, and the one thing that, I have to be honest, we kept looking and we're looking at the board and we're looking centerman, and it's such a valuable, position for every organization. Everyone realizes that. And I think as we kind of started going through the draft and you look at, Red Savage, he played at the development program. We just talked about that. He was the captain of Team USA. He is a natural centerman. Same thing with Dower Nilsson. He was a captain at the U18s as well, playing for Sweden. A natural centerman. And then Pasquale Zito, who plays over in Windsor. He didn't play this past year. Kelly Harper, Ontario scout, saw him his underage year, did a lot of, background check and information, talked to the Windsor coaches, Windsor general manager, and a lot of feedback from him. And, they have big plans for him coming into the season in September, and another centerman. So I think we got, 3 centermen right there that we certainly needed to get into the prospect pool. Oscar Plandowski, right shot D-man, plays in Charlottetown. Another really good skater. Like this defenseman he can move. We're really excited with the way that he skates. So as we kind of went through it, it just started kind of making sense. We're looking at our prospect pool and where we have players, and then looking at what we wanted to do on Friday night and Saturday. And certainly I think that we addressed a lot of needs that the Red Wing organization needed.
Kris, you talked about taking Simon Edvinsson at 6 overall, and obviously a lot of mock drafts and projections, Edvinsson was not projected to be there at 6. Was it a no-brainer for you guys when you saw that he was still available, or was there some debating?
You know what? The way it works for us is, we put a lot of time, effort, and energy into our draft list, into our board, and have it set up. And really, as names start getting called, you start, crossing out names. And as we're at pick 6, Simon was our guy.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, it made the selection, very easy for us to pick Simon Edvinsson for a lot of reasons. You look at, the size, the skating, and then obviously the position. It's something that we're excited to have, come in. And I think when you look at, some of the prospects that we've been able to draft over the last couple of years, the back end, we've added, some size, we've added some skaters, and, that's something that's, certainly going to be important for us going forward.
Kris, I want to jump really back to Pasquale Zito, because what's interesting about him, as you said, he didn't play last year at all. He was a Spitfire. I love his story. He told the press about almost standing on the Ambassador Bridge and dreaming about being a Red Wing, but was it important when you talked to him to see what he did during the pandemic, that, he didn't sit on the couch eating bonbons, that he went to the gym every day, he worked out, he tried to find pickup games? Is that kind of, I don't know if put you over the top, but kind of sold you that this is a really dedicated young man?
Yeah, we certainly appreciated that. I think for a lot of, some of the prospects, especially the Ontario kids, there was some that unfortunately weren't able to play. Obviously, the OHL didn't play. A lot of them had opportunities to go over to Europe. They did that. Some of them certainly got to play at the U18s in Texas, but Pasquale wasn't one of those. And when you hear, what he did and how he was training and how he was taking care of himself, and every time, it seemed like the OHL might start up and it never did. And, that's got to be so hard on these 17, 18-year-old prospects. All they want to do is play hockey. It's their draft year. But he just kept, telling us the importance of what he was doing on the ice and off the ice. And in the end, with kind of all the background check that we did and the plans for him going forward and with the Windsor Spitfires, in the 6th round, it just made sense to select his name.
And let's jump to talking about Sebastian Cossa. We know that the Red Wings had 2 first-round picks, and you did go with a goaltender at pick 15, actually, after moving up in a trade with Dallas. So what was it that made Sebastian Cossa the guy? Because we have all been hearing about Jesper Wallstedt for months now, and Sebastian Cossa too. They were the 2 highly touted goaltending prospects. But what gave Cossa the edge in your staff's mind?
First of all, we think they're both fantastic prospects. For us, we did a lot of work. We dug in a lot on the background of both Sebastian and Jesper. It was something that we needed to do. We also felt that at pick 22, probably both goalies were going to be off the board. There was a lot of discussion of that going into the draft. And, as we all know, we needed to get a goalie in our prospect pool. And we felt that, with that said, everything that we did, the people that we talked to, the interviews, the background checks, you name it, Sebastian was our guy. He's 6'6". His athleticism is incredible. His power numbers that he has as an athlete are very impressive. You're sitting there, obviously Phil O'Sear, who runs our goaltending consulting. We had a lot of conversations with him, watch video, broke down video, rewatch video, had a lot of conversations, with him. And in the end, for us, Sebastian Cossa was the goalie that we wanted to select. It's 6'6", athleticism. Obviously, you see the technique that he plays, the second, third effort on saves. He has he's a very confident young man, and I think you have to be that to play that position. And we talked about that. We talked about being a goalie in an original 6 franchise, a goalie for the Detroit Red Wings. And, when we started saying that, his eyes kind of lit up, and he says, this is what I want. And he believes in himself. I think that's obviously, you need that inner drive. You have to believe in yourself. And we feel that Sebastian has that. So everything that he's been able to do, obviously he's done at a high level and has been very successful. His last year, obviously it was different for the Western Hockey League. They were, in that, the WHL bubble. He was in that Alberta bubble, put up incredible numbers. He just, he's a goalie that at the time where we're looking and kind of how we wanted to build this organization, Sebastian was the guy that we wanted to announce.
Art, I know you got to talk to him, and he's a pretty confident kid,
Yeah,
too,
he's,
isn't he?
I mean, I think his timeline, he's starting for the Red Wings in 3 years. So, but you must like that. I mean, you want to hear kids say that, right? I mean, it's not like, I'm going to toil or, geez, thanks for drafting me. Maybe I'll see you in Detroit. I mean, he is a confident kid, but I want to get back to, you talked about, and he talked to Chris Osgood. And you and I both know Ozzy likes to talk. Did you ever have to give Ozzy the rap sign? Like, okay, all right, you've talked to him for 40 minutes. You guys are bonding. I love it, but we got to move on. Steve wants to talk to him.
That's pretty funny coming from you. Okay, first of all, you know what? It was great. I mean, we had to me, I enjoyed that conversation. Two goalies, talking. Ozzy obviously talking about his experience here in Detroit. First off, of how it went and kind of, Ozzy was honest. He, at the time, he wished he worked harder. He wished he was more prepared. Obviously, and it's pretty good coming from, a goalie who backed up to a Stanley Cup winner and then obviously won a Stanley Cup in 1998. And you hear him talking about, I wasn't prepared all the time. And, hearing, the Sebastian kind of engage and have a conversation with Chris Osgood was really good. A couple times Ozzy kind of started getting off topic a little bit, and I had to reel him right back in pretty fast, knowing where it was going. But that's the beauty of knowing Chris Osgood for 25 years. But it was, and then obviously with Ozzy coming back and his second, tour of duty for the Detroit Red Wings, he basically reinvented himself. He believed, the one thing, and I love it, when he's sitting there and we're going into 08, he was really mad and really disappointed that, that he wasn't named starter going into the playoffs at the time. And the one thing, that he said, he goes, I'm cheering for Dom. I'm going to do everything I can to support Dominik Hasek, but if I get a chance, it's my team and I'm going. And, Ozzy kind of forgot. I reminded him that he went on a 9-game win streak when he stepped in there, and obviously go on to win the Stanley Cup in 2008. So I think things like that, when you're a young prospect, I mean, it has to resonate with you. And the one thing, that I'm sitting there, it's like, it's going to be harder than you think. Every prospect thinks that they work hard until they walk into, an NHL dressing room. And then all of a sudden you see the guys, of really how hard those guys work and how hard they train on and off the ice. We tell our prospects that, but it usually, they have to figure it out on their own, but the one thing, that I really liked is, talking to the strength coaches that Sebastian works with, and just, his work ethic. He's always there early. He's always prepared to go. He does anything he can do to make himself better and challenge himself. He's all in on that stuff. So it was, it was a good conversation with Ozzy, and you could see Sebastian was kind of taking it all in, which I enjoyed.
Chris, I don't want to keep belaboring on goalies, but I do want to ask you this, because people were saying, I kept, predicting, people asking me of all people hey, what do you think the Red Wings are going to do? And I said, I think they got to take a goalie early. I mean, they really do. As you said, the prospect pool might be a little thin in that position, but everyone's saying, well, you can always get a goalie. You can always get a goalie. But isn't the NHL changing? Because if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times during the playoffs. The 4 teams that were left, their netminders were all taken in the first round. So do you see that thing? Well, you don't necessarily need to draft a goalie in the first round, maybe even the second. Has the NHL come around and realized that, hey, if you got a goalie, if you like him enough, take him in the first round?
I think if you like him enough, you take him, and obviously, and more importantly, if he's good enough, you take him. And I think, last year, the best goalie in the draft was Askarov. Nashville stepped up and took him right away, with no hesitation. And I think you're sitting here, I think, the industry knew that there was going to be 2 first-round goaltenders taken. It was Sebastian Cossa and Jesper Wallstedt. They didn't know where teams liked them. They didn't know where they were going to go. It's interesting. I have some insight on some of how the draft kind of went and almost went. And I'm here to tell you that, when we took Sebastian Cossa, that's when we had, we had to take him. It was, you just never know. You don't know what another organization's doing. You don't know, where they have the prospects listed. I mean, obviously, we know there's a lot of mock drafts, and you go through all that. But, until you're really in that room and it's your list and it's your team and it's your draft, you don't know where teams and organizations we're sitting there, we're trying to predict it too, and we're off. So it's that's the interesting thing of how this works. You have 32 teams, and basically probably every list is going to be a little bit different. They look at players different, they put priority on different things. And like I said, the important thing for us, as we identified, a defenseman early, we were able to get him. And then obviously a goaltender, we were able to trade up to get him. And we're excited to add both to the Detroit Red Wing prospect pool.
So while we're on the subject of trading up to get your guy, you've got to take your guy when he's there. You guys also traded up in a trade with Vegas for pick 36, which is round 2, and selected Shai Buium, Now, sorry if I butchered that name, by the way. Did I get it? Okay, I did it. All right, there we go. Shai, welcome. Welcome to Detroit. Okay, so he's another left shot defenseman. What is it about him that made you say, okay, we've got to move up and we have to take him?
I probably, you're sitting there, there was a couple picks left. And like I said, it comes back to, you're not quite sure what can happen. So it just, we really like Shai. He started the year in Shattuck. Shattuck had a pretty tough year COVID-wise. They were shut down a couple times. I think it was the second time that they were shut down. Shai went into Sioux City and started playing. And he started out in the third pair. And by the end of the playoffs, he was in their first pair. He was on their top power play and on their top penalty kill unit on a team that in the month of March, I think they won something like 10 out of their last 12 games to get into the playoffs. Pretty impressive down the stretch. And as we kind of kept coming back into the ranks, he just continued to improve. That was something that really stood out for all of us is, the USHL, basically for me this year was USHL. It was the program. It was college hockey of where I could go. And, so I saw the USHL a lot, and it seemed like every time, you go back into the rink, he just continued to get better. He's 6'3.5". I think he's right now about 210 pounds. He just spent the last month in Denver. We talked to the strength coach in Denver, and he's just like, you know what? I got a lot to work with this prospect. He has a good frame, opportunity, to get a lot bigger and a lot stronger. So you think of, a 17-year-old prospect of, playing, for Shattuck and then going to Sioux City and then getting into University of Denver, where now all of a sudden it's, you're training, 4 or 5 times a week. You're playing Friday, Saturday, you're back in the gym. We really like that. So his, where he's going, his path, the trajectory of where we think, Shai is going to be, it was another left shot D-man, smart hockey player. We like his size, we like his range, and like I said, it just made sense for us.
Another guy we need to ask you about was Shai's roommate. I'm not sure if it was at Denver or when they were there for an orientation or with Team USA that they're both on in the summer showcase, but that is Carter Mazur, whom, he I guess the best coach he's ever had was a guy named Kris Draper.
Smart kid.
Yeah. He knows what to say.
Yeah, really. I like him too. But with that said, I was at the summer showcase, and he scored the game-winning goal for Team USA, and afterwards he started smiling, saying it's the greasiest goal he's ever scored in his life. But then it's what he said after that. That's probably how I'm going to have to play, though. I mean, I'm going to have greasy goals. When you hear that, tell us about him. Your relationship with him obviously is special. He's on top of the world, born in Detroit, raised in Jackson. So that, when I saw that, when he said greasy goal, and I'm going to have to probably do that to be a Red Wing, again, you want to hear this stuff.
Yeah, and he actually almost scored his next shift too to go up 4-2. Carter, great kid. Obviously, I've known he played for me at the Brick. He played for the Detroit Junior Red Wings at the prestigious Brick tournament out in Edmonton, Alberta. And you know what? He was just he's a low maintenance hockey player. He comes to the rink, he always has a smile on his face, and he just plays. I was able to watch him grow up last year. For a lot of U16 players that jump into their first year into the USHL, it's a big jump. And Carter had it was a big adjustment for him. But this year he just everything just kind of going in the right direction. He got off to a great start. He's good friends with my son. The one thing I told Carter is the pandemic, things are shut down. There's still opportunities to train, run hills, get to the track. There's always weights somewhere. You can do all this kind of stuff. And he really took advantage of that. And I think that, really helped him. And he had a lot of confidence going into the start of this season. Got off to a great start, put up obviously some pretty good numbers, almost a point per game in a very hard league and in a very hard conference, the Western Conference of the USHL. So that's the type of hockey that he has to play. I think yesterday you saw he has opportunities to kind of, finish checks. He does that. He mixes it up. He likes being in the hard areas. And, the goal that he scored, that's how Carter Mazur is going to have to play. And he's a responsible 200-foot, right shot winger that he's 6 feet right now. He's already, 182 pounds. Like, he has a chance to be a pretty thick kid. I kind of made it easy for our player development staff with, Sean Horkoff and Dan Cleary, with Tuomisto at Denver. And now you add, Carter and Shai. It's a one-stop right there for 3 prospects. So, Denver's really putting together a real good program, a lot of trust in their coaching staff and obviously their strength conditioning program that they have, and we feel that, 2-3 years of those guys going in, these guys are going to be, Carter has a chance to get, to 195, 200 pounds. Shai has a chance to, 225 pound D-men, 6'3.5". So, I mean, when you start looking at that and they're going to college, there's no rush. They understand that and they just get to develop and play hockey. It was another selection that we were obviously excited to make. It was, very exciting for me to be able to call, Carter's name, just everything that we've been through, like I said, since he was 10 years old. And I was able to watch him as, a little 10-year-old punk turn into, an NHL prospect and into a Detroit Red Wing. And his mom and dad and his grandparents were there yesterday. And, obviously the mom was, she was in tears. Which is, pretty special. And the grandfather, Stosh, he's an absolute legend. Him and my dad were best buddies through all these tournaments. So he was obviously very excited. I brought him into the suite. They were able, to meet both Sean and Danny, and Ryan Mart was there, Pat Verbeek, and some of our scouts were there, and they just really enjoyed it. And on that note too, Shai's family was in town. Shai's younger brother just made the U17 program, so he's going to be playing for the U17s. So they're going to move here. So we were able to talk to the mom and dad and both brothers, and just thrilled, about it. Interesting fact, Shai's mom, is from Israel and played professional basketball over there. So a very athletic family, and then obviously the younger brother just made U17. So pretty exciting times for his family as well.
Another player we have to talk about is Liam Dower Nilsson, who I believe a true center and captain of Sweden's national team at was it the U18s? Yeah, U18s, and he again does not lack confidence. But if you can talk about him a little bit, Kris, because one thing that the Red Wings, and I don't know if it's just by coincidence or not, you seem to have a lot of guys who wear the C on their sweaters for the respective teams. How important is that? And it seems like Liam, who's really good friends with Simon Edvinsson, who was with him when he was drafted. So again, you got a little thing going there. But the importance of leadership, guys that wear the C, and Liam, who is a center, which is really a place of need for the Red Wings.
Yeah, I mean, you have to love character, for sure. I think, that's something that's real important to our organization, bringing in good people, character people. And I think we, that's something that, when you really start, digging in and doing character checks, you just keep finding out about these guys. And like I said it Saturday night, when we start talking to other prospects, we always ask, if you could take someone off your U18 team, who would you take to the NHL with you? And, the majority of them said Liam Dower Nilsson, and that's something that, you kept writing it down. You'd interview another Swedish player off that U18 team and he would say it. And, this, I know Håkan Andersson and Thomas Karlsson really raved about the character of Liam. And then when your teammates say that as well, that obviously goes a long way also. So that was something that, you love to hear. And, like you said, he's a natural centerman. We really like his hockey sense. We really like his compete. He knows, he has to improve on his skating. And I think when you're confident, you're determined, and you believe in yourself, you're going to do everything you can to give yourself the best chance to be an NHL prospect. And that's how he's wired. And that's something that you want. You want these, young players, 17, 18 years old, to have that inner drive. I think that's something that's really important. And, when you're a captain on the team and people talk about your character, then you obviously have that in you.
Another centerman, Red Savage. I think you mentioned him briefly a little bit earlier, but you can be honest here. Okay, this is a safe space. Did you draft him solely because his name is Red Savage, and eventually we'll get to put Savage on the back of a Red Wings jersey? Because I think that would be great.
Isn't that, it's funny. I didn't even think about the name until all of a sudden it's like, I think it was like hashtagging all through Hockey Town, which was something, which was pretty cool. Obviously I played against his dad, knew his dad for a long time. I actually coached against him in U16. He played for Ryan Barnes, another former Red Wing draft pick with Compure, where they had the 03 team, very successful youth hockey team growing up. They did a lot of winning, but I reminded Red, except against our Little Caesars team at the U16 level. And, I think the one thing with Red going into the program, I believe it was really good for him. But I also believe that, there was some adversity that he faced. I think every player going into the U17 and U18 into the development program, they're always the best players on their team. They always play on power play. They always play penalty kill. They play a ton of hockey. And Red was a player that kind of fit that, that third line energy mold, and didn't get the looks on the power play. And I believe that there's more offense in his game. I was able to see him as a U16. I think, Red will be the first one to tell you that he believes that there is more offense in his game, and he's going to have an opportunity over the next couple of years to really work on that. So, that's the one thing that we want him to do. He knows how to play the game. He grew up in an NHL locker room. He understands what it takes to be a pro, which is obviously very important. But for him, we want him to develop his puck game. And I think that that's something that he's really looking forward to doing. But we have another, like you said, another captain. He was selected, by his teammates to be the captain at the U18 tournament in Texas, which is obviously a huge honor. And there's a reason why he was picked. So natural centerman he is, which another position that obviously we needed, and another captain, and just knowing Red and his family, just it's a good fit for us, and obviously the name makes it even a better fit for the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, his real name is full name is Redmond.
Yeah.
And there's only one Redmond here in Detroit, and that's Mickey. So
hopefully there's another one coming. Move over, Mick.
Move over, Mick. Here comes Redmond. Kris, real quickly, Steve made some moves. You had 12 picks going into this thing. Was there ever a moment where you were going to go up to the microphone and announce a pick, and you double take it, Steve, and go, "Are we good?"
No. Steve looks at me and says, "You're good." Is kind of the way we know the pecking order in this organization. So kind of like when we played too. So some things never change. But you know what? That's kind of the luxury of acquiring picks. Kind of gives you a little bit of flexibility. And I know Steve, said it. He's not a big fan of trading up, but at the time, we obviously felt that it was the right thing to do to get the players that we wanted to get. And then even before going into the draft, we got a top 4 defenseman in Nick Leddy, who I've never met Nick, but I've just heard incredible things, about him the last couple of years, the runs that he went on with the New York Islanders, playing for Barry Trotz, and how he plays the game, I think is going to be really important for our young D that are coming in. So he's kind of, moving into that role model material for especially a player like Moritz Seider, who's coming over. And then obviously with Nedeljkovic, when you're sitting there, and obviously it was a 3rd round pick, but an opportunity to bring in a 25-year-old starting goaltender who had an incredible year last year. And then in the playoffs, was a couple games went head to head with Vasilevsky, and and was pretty entertaining to watch. So, it only made sense. I think, every amateur scout wants as many picks as you can get, but I also understand, it's important for the Detroit Red Wings, to be competitive.
And Moritz Seider, you mentioned he's going to be coming at least to training camp, and we seem to believe that he has every opportunity to make the Red Wings roster last year. It's a really exciting time for him. What have you thought about his development since drafting him in 2019? Every level he plays at, he seems to just exceed expectations.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that was probably one of the best interviews I was a part of. He was just an electric personality. I think everyone's kind of gotten to know that over the last couple of years. And just his demeanor. He obviously, just the way he goes out and plays a game. He goes out, he plays it, he manages the game. Obviously, a very smart player. He doesn't shy away from the physical side of the game. Had an incredible year in the SHL, and then obviously in the World Championships last year. I think that was a great move. With the uncertainty that was going on, over here, not knowing, about Grand Rapids and obviously, about Detroit and just committing Mo to the SHL, I think was something that was great for him and his development and certainly his confidence walking away with Defenseman of the Year and then following that up with the World Championships for Germany. So he's a player we're real excited to obviously get over here. It's he's done a tremendous job preparing himself and the one thing that we continue to talk about, it's still going to be a big step for him, knowing of what he's handled, playing at the World Championships, obviously playing in the SHL now, it's every night playing in the NHL about, playing against the best players in the world night in and night out.
How about Oscar Plandowski? Again, has, I'm almost thinking the old game. Remember the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, where if you figure it out, like if you can go back like 6 ways, everyone's related or has some sort of connection to Kevin Bacon. Well, when I look at the Red Wings, it seems it's like the 6 degrees of the Detroit Red Wings. Almost everybody that you draft seems to have some sort of connection to someone in the organization. Is that coincidence, or is familiarity breeds not contempt in this case, but breeds confidence, I guess?
I think it's important to have that, for sure. And I think, with Oscar, the thing that, that we liked from him, obviously a right shot demon and then his skating. I think that's what a lot of people really talk about when they talk about Oscar Plandowski, is very smooth skater, great skater. And that to me, is something that is intriguing for every prospect. That it's a fast game. I think he has the ability to defend off the rush because he is, so mobile and agile, and he really relies on his feet. So, when you're sitting there and you have a right shot demon, I believe he's about 6'1" and a quarter, pretty good size, almost 200 pounds. When you're sitting there and you want to just kind of keep adding pieces, it just made sense for us to select Oscar at that point.
Kris, you talked about Keenan a little bit, your son. Last year, the 2020 draft, you were able to draft him in the 7th round for the Red Wings, which had to be a really cool moment for you. But I just want to ask you an update on him. How's Keenan doing, and what has his last year looked like?
Yeah, you know what? Keenan's doing well. He's I think he get measured in at 6'2", 195 pounds now. So
where'd he get his height?
Mom. Yeah, definitely not the guy sitting in the chair here. So he just towers over Dad now. It's not even funny anymore. He was at he came to the summer showcase with me yesterday, and everyone just kind of laughs, like basically like he just, eats an apple off my head, no problem at all, and Dan Cleary actually said, he goes, Keenan, one night, just pound your dad for me. Okay. Just do it because you can, so we kind of laugh at that. But, just like a lot of prospects, it was a challenging year. He started the year, he was going to go out and play in Chilliwack in the BCHL. They didn't start. We came home Christmas time and then got a call from Omaha from the USHL. And obviously they were playing. So he ended up making the switch, going from Chilliwack to Omaha. And it's hard to jump in kind of halfway through a season with new teammates and new organization. But I thought the adversity that he faced, I thought he handled it really well. And I thought down the stretch, the last month of the season and into the playoffs, he started playing the kind of hockey that he knows how to play. Big, strong kid. He can shoot the puck. He enjoys the physical side of the game. And so now he's going to go back out to Chilliwack for one more year before he heads to Miami in the fall.
Second year as director of amateur scouting. I know you've been part of drafts in the past. Was this more like a real draft to you, where all 32 teams are, like next year, hopefully in Montreal, will all be on the ice, but obviously the ice won't be, but be on the floor? Do you like that? Are you looking forward to that? Because Steve said something interesting, that he almost likes the fact that it is virtual, because he doesn't have a full arena of people just yelling and screaming, and that you can actually, I think, get your work done. I mean, where do you stand on?
Well, obviously, you can make trades. We obviously, prove that. But I would say, you just kind of want everything to kind of get back to normal is really what you want. Last year, my first draft, I mean, it was absolutely incredible of how, the season just shut down in, the second week of March. Then we're preparing for the draft, and Stevie can't go because of COVID protocol. And I'm sitting there and he's on the screen, and, we're kind of talking back and forth, and that was my first draft. It's just like, okay, welcome to running a draft, And, but I thought under the circumstances, we did a good job. And then, this year having Stevie there, honestly, it's great. You talk about prospects, you talk about your list, you talk about your upcoming picks. Do you want to move up? Do you want to move back? How do you want this to work? And, I'm getting, learning on the job. And I think that that's something that, I really appreciate. And, when we're going to pick a player, we know the importance of what a Red Wing DNA prospect has. And that's something that we're all going to make sure that we're going to do. So I think, it was good. I thought it worked out well for our, scouting staff, but, the draft is, you feel for the prospects, they've worked all their entire, 18 years to put themselves in that situation. They don't have the opportunity to go to the draft table and shake hands and put that jersey on. Those are moments that you always dream about as a young kid. So I'm looking forward to getting into Montreal and getting back to normal. It's amazing. We just finished the draft on Saturday. We're talking about, our draft prospects that we just have. And on Saturday, I'm heading over to the Gretzky Hlinka to start chasing the 04s now. So away we go. It's off to the races and away we go again. So it looks like, for myself, I'll be able to kind of travel, all throughout and kind of get back to a normal, scouting season. It was different this year because obviously all I could do was stay here in the US and rely on video and rely on our area scouts and have a lot of, communication and a lot of talks. But I think under the circumstances, I think we all did a good job.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I know that you are really busy this week with the showcase and everything, but we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Big thank you to everybody for watching The Word on Woodward, presented by PointsBet, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Red Wings, Detroit Tigers, and Little Caesars Arena. We'll see you next time.